Ladies, if you're watching this video, you're probably wondering what that one phrase is that manipulative men use to target older women specifically. And I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, but first I need you to do something for me. If this information helps you or someone you know, please hit that like button right now. It tells the algorithm that this content matters and helps other women find this crucial information. Also, make sure to subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest videos about dating safety and empowerment. And if you really want to support our mission of protecting women from predators, consider leaving a super thanks donation. Every contribution helps us create more content like this. Now let's get into what you came here for. The number one thing that players and manipulators say to trap older women is this: "You're so different from other women your age." It sounds like a compliment, doesn't it? But it's actually one of the most insidious forms of manipulation specifically designed to target women over 40, 50, and beyond. Before we dive deeper into why this phrase is so dangerous and how to protect yourself from it, I want you to comment below and let me know if you've ever heard this line before. Share this video with any woman in your life who might benefit from this information, because knowledge is power, and power is protection. Chapter 1. Understanding the psychology behind the manipulation, the reason this particular phrase is so effective against older women isn't because older women are more gullible or naive. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Older women often have more life experience, better boundaries, and stronger intuition about people's intentions. So why does this line work so well? It's because it targets something much deeper than simple flattery. When a manipulator tells an older woman, "You're so different from other women your age," he's doing several psychological operations at once. First, he's creating what psychologists call artificial scarcity. He's suggesting that finding someone like you is rare and special, which makes you feel chosen and unique. But more importantly, he's subtly insulting your entire peer group while appearing to compliment you. Think about what this phrase actually implies. It suggests that most women your age are somehow deficient, boring, or undesirable. But you, miraculously, are the exception. This creates a false sense of superiority that many women find intoxicating, especially if they've been feeling invisible or overlooked by society due to ageism. The manipulation goes even deeper when you consider the social context that older women navigate daily. We live in a youth-obsessed culture where women are constantly told that their value decreases with age. Magazine covers, movies, advertising, and social media all reinforce the message that younger equals better when it comes to women. So when a man comes along and tells you that you're different, that you've somehow transcended the limitations that society places on older women, it can feel like validation you've been craving. But here's what's really happening. The manipulator is exploiting your awareness of ageism against you. He knows you've probably experienced being dismissed or overlooked because of your age. He knows you've probably felt the sting of being considered less desirable or less relevant than younger women. And he's using that knowledge to make you feel grateful for his attention and approval. This gratitude becomes the foundation for further manipulation. Once you feel special and chosen, you're more likely to overlook red flags, excuse bad behavior, and invest emotionally in someone who doesn't deserve it. You might find yourself thinking, "Finally, someone who sees my worth," without realizing that someone truly worthy wouldn't need to put down other women to build you up. The phrase also serves another manipulative function. It establishes the man as an authority on women and desirability. By positioning himself as someone who can judge and categorize women, he's setting himself up as the arbiter of your worth. This is a classic power move designed to make you seek his continued approval and validation. Understanding this psychology is crucial because it helps you see the manipulation for what it is. When someone genuinely appreciates you, they don't need to tear down others to lift you up. Authentic attraction and respect stand on their own merits. A man who truly values older women doesn't frame it as an exception to a rule, but as a natural appreciation for experience, wisdom, and maturity. Chapter 2. The anatomy of the perfect target. Players and manipulators don't choose their targets randomly. They're strategic, calculating, and they've learned to identify women who are most susceptible to their particular brand of manipulation. Understanding who they target and why can help you recognize if you're being set up. The ideal target for the "you're different" manipulation is typically an older woman who is recently single, whether through divorce, death of a spouse, or the end of a long-term relationship. These women are often in a vulnerable emotional state, questioning their attractiveness and desirability in the dating market. They may be dealing with feelings of invisibility or irrelevance that come with aging in a youth-centric culture. These predators also target women who are successful and independent. This might seem counterintuitive, but successful older women often have something that manipulators want: financial security, emotional stability, and resources. The "you're different" line works particularly well on accomplished women because it acknowledges their uniqueness in a way that feels sophisticated and mature, unlike the crude pickup lines they might expect from men their age. Another prime target is the woman who has been out of the dating scene for a long time. Maybe she was in a long marriage and is now re-entering the dating world. Or perhaps she took time off from dating to focus on career or family. These women often feel uncertain about modern dating norms and may be grateful for what seems like genuine interest and appreciation. Interestingly, these manipulators also target women who are naturally confident and self-assured. The "you're different" line serves as a way to maintain that confidence while redirecting it toward dependence on the manipulator's validation. A confident woman might normally reject obvious manipulation, but this phrase is subtle enough to slip under her psychological radar while still achieving the desired effect. The manipulator also looks for women who value intelligence and depth in conversation. He'll often couple the "you're different" line with comments about how refreshing it is to talk to someone who understands him or who can engage on his level. This intellectual flattery is particularly effective with educated, thoughtful women who pride themselves on their mental acuity. Women who have experienced recent rejection or disappointment in dating are also vulnerable to this manipulation. If you've been hurt by someone who made you feel too old or undesirable, you're more likely to be receptive to someone who seems to celebrate your maturity rather than see it as a limitation. The manipulator also targets women who are isolated or have limited social support. This might be someone who has relocated for a job, whose children have grown and moved away, or who has lost touch with friends over the years. When you don't have a strong network to reality check your relationships, you're more susceptible to manipulation and less likely to receive the outside perspective that might reveal red flags. It's important to understand that being a target doesn't mean you're weak or foolish. These manipulators are skilled at what they do, and they specifically choose intelligent, successful, attractive women because they present the biggest challenge and the greatest reward. Recognizing the profile of a typical target can help you understand that if you fit this description, you need to be extra vigilant about protecting yourself. The key is to remember that your perceived vulnerabilities are actually strengths being exploited. Your openness to new experiences, your desire for meaningful connection, your appreciation for genuine compliments, and your capacity for trust are all beautiful qualities. The problem isn't with having these qualities. The problem is with people who exploit them for selfish gain. Chapter 3. Red flags that accompany. This phrase, the "you're different from other women your age" line, rarely appears in isolation. It's typically part of a larger pattern of manipulative behavior, and recognizing the accompanying red flags can help you identify a player before you get emotionally invested. One of the most common red flags is love bombing. This occurs when the manipulator overwhelms you with excessive attention, affection, and admiration in the early stages of the relationship. He might text you constantly, want to see you every day, and declare intense feelings unusually quickly. While this attention might feel wonderful after perhaps years of feeling overlooked, genuine relationships typically develop at a more natural pace. Another major red flag is the speed at which he wants to escalate the relationship. He might talk about moving in together, marriage, or other serious commitments within weeks of meeting you. This rapid escalation is designed to get you emotionally invested before you have time to properly evaluate his character or intentions. A man who truly values you will want to take time to build a solid foundation rather than rushing toward commitment. Pay attention to how he talks about his ex-partners. If he consistently describes all his ex-girlfriends or ex-wives as crazy, unstable, or problematic, this is a significant red flag. While everyone has had difficult relationships, a pattern of crazy exes often indicates that he's the common denominator in these failed relationships. Moreover, it shows how he might describe you to future partners if things don't work out. Notice if he seems to have an unusually detailed understanding of what makes older women tick. While some men naturally appreciate mature women, A manipulator often has studied his target demographic carefully. He might make comments that seem almost too insightful about the challenges of dating after 50, the experience of divorce later in life, or the specific insecurities that older women face. This knowledge often comes from having practiced on other women. Financial red flags are also common. He might be evasive about his job, living situation, or financial status while showing great interest in yours. Be wary of someone who asks detailed questions about your income, savings, or property, while deflecting similar questions about his own circumstances. Some manipulators specifically target older women who are financially stable, or who might have received divorce settlements or insurance payouts. Watch for inconsistencies in his stories. Manipulators often maintain multiple relationships or have complex personal situations they're trying to hide. If details about his past, his work, or his daily life don't add up or seem to change over time, pay attention. A genuine person's story will be consistent because it's their actual life, not a constructed narrative. Another red flag is excessive curiosity about your social circle. He might ask detailed questions about your friends and family, or seem unusually interested in your social media connections. This could be an attempt to assess how isolated you are and whether you have people in your life who might spot his manipulation or provide contrary advice. Be cautious if he discourages you from maintaining or developing other relationships. This might start subtly, with comments about how your friends don't understand your relationship or how your family doesn't appreciate you properly. Isolating you from your support system makes you more dependent on him for validation and less likely to receive outside perspective on the relationship. Notice if he has boundary issues early in the relationship. This might manifest as showing up uninvited, being overly familiar with your personal space, or pushing for intimacy before you're comfortable. While older women often appreciate directness and are less tolerant of games than younger women, there's a difference between being straightforward and being presumptuous or disrespectful. Finally, pay attention to your instincts. If something feels off but you can't quite put your finger on what it is, don't dismiss those feelings. Your intuition has been honed by years of life experience, and it's often picking up on subtle cues that your conscious mind hasn't fully processed yet. Trust that inner voice, especially when it's warning you about someone who seems too good to be true. Chapter 4. The long-term consequences of falling for this manipulation. Understanding. What happens when women fall for this manipulation can help motivate you to stay vigilant and protect yourself. The consequences often extend far beyond the end of the relationship and can have lasting impacts on your confidence, financial security, and ability to trust in future relationships. The most immediate consequence is often financial exploitation. Many women who fall for this manipulation find themselves gradually supporting their partner, either through direct financial contributions or by allowing him to benefit from their resources without reciprocating. This might start small, with you picking up more restaurant bills or paying for activities, but it often escalates to much more serious financial entanglement. Some women find themselves lending money for emergencies that never get repaid, co-signing loans or credit applications, or even adding their partner to bank accounts or property deeds. The manipulator often frames these requests as signs of trust and commitment, making you feel like refusing would mean you don't truly believe in the relationship. By the time you realize you've been exploited, you may have lost significant money or damaged your credit score. The emotional consequences can be even more devastating than the financial ones. Many women who have experienced this type of manipulation report feeling deeply ashamed and embarrassed that they fell for it. This shame is often compounded by the fact that their friends or family members may have tried to warn them about red flags they were too invested to see. This shame can lead to social isolation and reluctance to seek help or support when you need it most. You might find yourself withdrawing from friends who tried to warn you, or avoiding family gatherings where you might face uncomfortable questions about your relationship. This isolation makes recovery more difficult and can leave you vulnerable to future manipulation. The manipulation also often damages your ability to trust your own judgment. If you pride yourself on being intelligent and discerning, falling for manipulation can shatter your confidence in your ability to assess people and situations accurately. This self-doubt can carry over into other areas of your life, affecting your professional confidence, parenting decisions, or other relationships. Many women also experience a significant blow to their self-esteem. The manipulator often reveals his true feelings once he's gotten what he wanted, and these revelations can be cruel and devastating. You might discover that he never found you as special as he claimed, that he was simultaneously pursuing other women, or that he was actually critical of the very qualities he pretended to admire. The pattern of manipulation often follows a predictable cycle: idealization, devaluation, and discard. After the initial love bombing and "you're so different" phase, the manipulator begins to withdraw attention and affection. He might become critical, distant, or demanding. This devaluation phase is designed to keep you off balance and working harder for his approval. Finally, when he's gotten what he wanted or found a new target, he discards you, often cruelly and without explanation. This cycle leaves many women feeling confused and desperate for closure. You might find yourself analyzing every conversation and interaction, trying to understand what went wrong or what you could have done differently. This rumination can become obsessive and prevent you from moving on and healing. The experience can also create lasting trust issues that affect future relationships. You might become overly suspicious of genuine compliments or kindness, interpreting normal relationship behavior as potential manipulation. This hypervigilance, while protective, can also prevent you from forming healthy connections with trustworthy partners. Some women also report physical health consequences from the stress of these relationships. The emotional roller coaster of manipulation can lead to sleep problems, anxiety, depression, and other stress-related health issues. The shame and isolation that often follow can exacerbate these problems and delay recovery. Perhaps most tragically, this experience can reinforce negative beliefs about aging and desirability. Instead of recognizing that you were targeted specifically because you're attractive and successful, you might internalize the idea that you're too old for genuine love and should be grateful for whatever attention you can get. This mindset makes you vulnerable to future exploitation. The impact on family relationships can also be significant, especially if you have adult children who witnessed the manipulation or tried to intervene. They may feel frustrated or hurt that you didn't listen to their concerns, and you may feel defensive or embarrassed about your choices. Rebuilding these relationships often requires honest communication and mutual understanding. Recovery from this type of manipulation often requires professional help. Whether through therapy, support groups, or other resources, the shame that many women feel often prevents them from seeking help. But getting support is crucial for healing and preventing future manipulation. Understanding these potential consequences isn't meant to frighten you away from dating or relationships. Instead, it's meant to help you understand why protecting yourself from manipulation is so important. Your emotional well-being, financial security, and ability to form healthy relationships are all valuable assets that deserve protection. Chapter 5. How predators study and target older women to protect yourself effectively. It's crucial to understand the methods and mindset of those who would exploit you. Predators who target older women don't operate randomly or impulsively. They're often sophisticated manipulators who have studied their preferred demographic and developed specific strategies to exploit the unique vulnerabilities and circumstances of women over 40. These predators often begin by researching where older women congregate both online and offline. They frequent dating sites that cater to mature adults, attend events and activities popular with older women, and position themselves in places where they're likely to encounter recently divorced or widowed women. Some even target specific venues like grief support groups, divorce recovery workshops, or social clubs for singles over 40. Online, they craft profiles specifically designed to appeal to older women. These profiles often emphasize maturity, stability, and appreciation for real women as opposed to girls who don't know what they want. They might mention being tired of dating younger women who lack depth or substance. Their photos are carefully selected to present a mature, successful image without being too polished or obviously fake. These manipulators have often studied the common experiences and challenges that older women face in dating and relationships. They understand the impact of ageism, the challenges of dating after divorce or widowhood, and the specific insecurities that many women develop as they age. This knowledge allows them to position themselves as the solution to these problems. They've learned that older women often value intellectual connection and emotional maturity over physical attraction alone. So they present themselves as deep thinkers, good listeners and emotionally intelligent men who appreciate the complexity and richness that comes with age and experience. They might quote literature, reference classic movies, or demonstrate knowledge about topics that educated, mature women find interesting. Many of these predators have also studied the financial patterns of older women. They understand that women over 50 may have accumulated savings, received divorce settlements, inherited money, or owned property. They know that many older women are financially responsible and stable, making them attractive targets for financial exploitation. Some predators specifically target women who are going through major life transitions. They monitor obituaries to identify recent widows, court records to find recent divorcees, or job postings that might indicate women who are relocating or starting new careers later in life. These transitions often leave women feeling vulnerable and open to new connections, making them more susceptible to manipulation. The really sophisticated manipulators often maintain detailed notes or records about their targets. They remember personal details, important dates, and emotional vulnerabilities that you've shared, then use this information to create a false sense of intimacy and understanding. They might bring up something you mentioned weeks ago or remember exactly what you were wearing on your first date, creating the impression that you've made a deep impression on them. These predators also understand the importance of patience when targeting older women. Unlike younger women who might be more impulsive in relationships, older women typically take more time to develop trust and make commitments. Predators who target this demographic have learned to play the long game, sometimes investing months in building trust and emotional connection before revealing their true intentions. They also study the technology and communication preferences of older women. While some older women are very tech-savvy, others are less familiar with online dating protocols or social media red flags that younger people might recognize immediately. Predators exploit this knowledge gap, using technology to their advantage. While their targets may not understand the full implications of certain online behaviors, many of these manipulators have also learned to exploit the caregiving nature that many older women possess. They understand that women who have spent years caring for children, aging parents, or spouses often have strong nurturing instincts. They position themselves as needing care or support, whether emotional, financial, or practical, knowing that many women will naturally want to help. Some predators also specifically target women with limited social support networks. They might focus on women who have recently moved to new areas, whose children live far away, or who have become isolated due to retirement, health issues, or other life changes. These women are less likely to have friends or family members who might spot red flags or provide contrary advice about the relationship. The most dangerous predators often have experience with multiple targets and have refined their techniques over time. They've learned from past successes and failures, developing increasingly sophisticated methods of manipulation. They might have studied psychology, read books about influence and persuasion, or learned from other predators. Understanding these methods helps you realize that if you're targeted, it's not because you're gullible or weak. It's because you possess qualities that make you an attractive target: success, stability, kindness, and resources. Predators are drawn to strong, accomplished women because they present both a challenge and a significant potential reward. This knowledge should empower rather than frighten you. By understanding how predators operate, you can better protect yourself and recognize manipulation attempts before they succeed. You can also help protect other women by sharing this information and staying alert to predatory behavior in your social circles. Chapter 6. The Science Behind. Why this manipulation works. Understanding the psychological and neurological reasons why the "you're different" manipulation is so effective can help you recognize it more quickly and resist it more effectively. This manipulation succeeds because it exploits several fundamental aspects of human psychology and brain chemistry that are particularly relevant to the experiences of older women. First, let's examine the role of dopamine in romantic relationships. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure, reward, and motivation. When someone tells you that you're special or different, your brain releases dopamine, creating a literally addictive feeling of pleasure and validation. This is why compliments feel so good and why we naturally seek more of them from people who make us feel special. The "you're different" manipulation is particularly effective because it provides intermittent reinforcement of this dopamine reward. Unlike consistent praise, which becomes predictable and less impactful over time, the manipulator provides irregular bursts of validation that keep your brain craving more. This is the same psychological principle that makes gambling addictive, and it creates a powerful psychological bond with the manipulator. For older women specifically, this dopamine reward can be especially potent because it may be providing something that's been missing from their lives. If you've been feeling invisible or undervalued due to ageism, or if you've been single for a while and missing romantic validation, your brain may be particularly hungry for these dopamine hits. This neurochemical craving can override logical thinking and make you more susceptible to manipulation. The manipulation also exploits what psychologists call the uniqueness bias, which is our natural tendency to see ourselves as different from and superior to others. When someone tells you that you're different from other women your age, they're confirming what you already want to believe about yourself. This confirmation bias makes the message more believable and more appealing than it would be if it contradicted your self-perception. Another psychological principle at work is social proof, but in reverse. Typically, we look to others' behavior to determine what's normal or appropriate. The "you're different" manipulation works by suggesting that what's normal for your peer group doesn't apply to you. This can feel liberating, especially if you've felt constrained by age-related social expectations, or if you've experienced discrimination based on your age. The manipulation also exploits attachment theory, particularly if you have an anxious or insecure attachment style. People with these attachment styles tend to seek validation from romantic partners and may interpret intense early attention as a sign of deep connection. The "you're different" message provides this validation while also suggesting that the connection between you is rare and special, triggering attachment behaviors. For women who experienced criticism or rejection in previous relationships, this manipulation can feel like healing. If an ex-husband made you feel too old, too demanding, or somehow deficient, a new partner who celebrates your uniqueness can feel like validation that you've been waiting for. Your brain interprets this as evidence that the previous criticism was wrong, creating a powerful positive association with the manipulator. The manipulation also exploits cognitive dissonance, which is the discomfort we feel when our beliefs and experiences don't align. If you believe you're a smart, discerning person but you start noticing red flags in the relationship, you may resolve this dissonance by dismissing the red flags rather than questioning your judgment about the person. After all, he told you that you're different and special, so surely you would recognize if something was wrong. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, also plays a role in this manipulation. Physical touch, intimate conversation, and shared experiences all trigger oxytocin release, creating feelings of connection and trust. Manipulators often escalate physical and emotional intimacy quickly, flooding your system with oxytocin and creating a chemical bond that can override rational thinking. The manipulation is also effective because it provides what psychologists call emotional regulation. If you've been feeling anxious about your desirability, uncertain about your place in the dating world, or sad about being alone, the "you're different" message and accompanying attention can temporarily regulate these negative emotions. Your brain learns to associate the manipulator with feeling better, creating a psychological dependence. For older women specifically, this manipulation often addresses what psychologists call mortality salience. As we age, we become more aware of our own mortality and may feel urgency about finding love or companionship while we still can. A manipulator who suggests that you're running out of time, or that finding someone who appreciates you is rare, can trigger this urgency and make you more likely to overlook red flags. The manipulation also exploits the sunk cost fallacy, which is our tendency to continue investing in something because we've already invested so much that stopping would mean admitting those investments were wasted. Once you've invested emotionally in someone who made you feel special and different, admitting that it was manipulation means acknowledging that those good feelings weren't real. Many women continue in harmful relationships rather than face this painful realization. Understanding these psychological principles doesn't make you weak for being susceptible to them. These are normal human responses that served evolutionary purposes and generally help us form healthy relationships. The problem arises when predators deliberately exploit these natural tendencies for their own benefit. By understanding the science behind the manipulation, you can start to recognize when your brain chemistry might be clouding your judgment. When you feel that euphoric rush from someone's attention or validation, you can pause and ask yourself whether this feeling is proportional to what you actually know about this person and whether the situation feels healthy and sustainable. This knowledge can also help you understand that the intense feelings you might have for a manipulator aren't necessarily evidence of a genuine connection. Your brain chemistry can create powerful feelings of attachment and love, but these feelings can be artificially induced through manipulation techniques. Real love develops more gradually and is based on consistent behavior, shared values, and mutual respect rather than intermittent reinforcement and artificial scarcity. Chapter 7. Real stories from real women. To truly understand the impact of this manipulation, it's important to hear from women who have experienced it firsthand. While I've changed names and identifying details to protect privacy, these stories come from real women who have survived relationships with manipulators who use the "you're different" technique. Sarah, a 58-year-old marketing executive, met David through a dating app 6 months after her divorce was finalized. The first thing he said to me after we'd been talking for about a week was that I was so refreshing compared to other women he'd met online. He said most women our age were bitter about their divorces or desperate for a man to take care of them. But I was different because I was successful and confident. Sarah admits she was flattered by this observation. I had been feeling pretty invisible since my divorce. My ex-husband had made comments about my age and appearance during our marriage, and I was worried that being 58 meant I was past my expiration date in the dating world. When David said I was different, it felt like someone finally saw my value. The relationship escalated quickly. David wanted to see Sarah every day and began talking about their future together within the first month. He said he'd never met anyone like me, that I was the kind of woman he'd been searching for his whole life. It was intoxicating, especially after feeling rejected and unwanted in my marriage. But red flags began appearing early. David was vague about his work and living situation, always had an excuse when Sarah wanted to visit his place, and seemed to know exactly what to say whenever she questioned anything about their relationship. Whenever I brought up concerns, he'd remind me how special our connection was, and how rare it was to find someone who truly understood me. He made me feel like questioning the relationship meant I was sabotaging something beautiful. The financial requests started small. David needed help with a car repair, then assistance with rent when a freelance project fell through. Each time he framed it as temporary and promised to pay her back. He said he wasn't used to needing help from a woman, but our relationship was different because we were true partners who supported each other. Over 8 months, Sarah lent David over $15,000. She also paid for most of their dates, trips, and activities because he was temporarily having financial difficulties. I justified it by telling myself that I made more money and that in a real partnership, finances shouldn't matter. He made me feel like being concerned about money was shallow and unworthy of our special connection. The relationship ended abruptly when Sarah discovered David was simultaneously dating at least 2 other women. I found out through social media, of all things. One of the other women posted pictures of them together on the same weekend. He'd told me he was visiting his sick mother. When I confronted him, he turned cold and cruel, calling me pathetic and desperate. It was like talking to a completely different person. The aftermath was devastating for Sarah. I felt so foolish and ashamed. I'm a successful businesswoman who manages million-dollar budgets, but I completely lost my judgment with this man. The worst part was realizing that everything he'd said about me being different was a lie. I was just another target to him. Margaret, 62, met Robert at a grief support group 18 months after her husband of 35 years died from cancer. Robert approached me after a meeting and said he admired how I was handling my grief. He said most women our age become bitter and closed off after losing a spouse, but I seem to have maintained my grace and openness to life. Margaret was in a vulnerable state and found Robert's attention comforting. I had been feeling so alone and wondering if I would ever feel attractive or desirable again. When Robert said I was different from other widows, it made me feel like maybe I could have a second chance at love. Robert positioned himself as someone who understood grief because he claimed to have lost his wife several years earlier. He seemed to know exactly what to say about the loneliness, the guilt about moving forward, and the fear of forgetting my deceased husband. He made me feel like he understood me in a way that my friends and family, who hadn't lost spouses, never could. The relationship became Margaret's primary source of emotional support. Robert discouraged her from continuing with the grief group, saying they were holding her back from healing and moving forward. He said our connection was helping me heal in ways the group never could, and that I didn't need to dwell on sadness when I had something beautiful to focus on. Margaret later discovered that Robert wasn't a widower at all. He was divorced and had been targeting women at grief support groups for years. He had perfected his technique of identifying recently widowed women who had assets and were emotionally vulnerable. The things he said about understanding my grief were just scripts he'd learned from listening to actual widows share their experiences. By the time Margaret discovered the truth, she had given Robert access to her financial accounts, helped him pay off debts, and allowed him to move into the home she'd shared with her deceased husband. He convinced me that combining our resources made sense since we were planning to spend our lives together. He said practical matters like money and property were less important than the spiritual connection we shared. Linda, 55, met James at a professional conference in her field. He approached me at the networking reception and said he was impressed by my presentation. But then he added that it was refreshing to meet a woman in our industry who had both intelligence and femininity. He said most successful women our age become hard and masculine, but I had maintained my softness. Linda was flattered by what seemed like a sophisticated compliment from a peer. I work in a male-dominated field and have always struggled with balancing professionalism with femininity. When James suggested that I had achieved this balance better than other women, it felt like recognition of something I'd worked hard to accomplish. James positioned himself as someone who appreciated mature, accomplished women. He said he was tired of dating younger women who were intimidated by successful men or who lacked the depth that comes with experience. He made me feel like my age and accomplishments were advantages rather than obstacles in dating. The relationship seemed perfect initially. James was attentive, intellectually stimulating, and seemed to respect Linda's career and independence. He said he loved that I was different from other women because I didn't need him to take care of me or define me. It felt like the kind of equal partnership I'd always wanted. But gradually, James began undermining Linda's professional confidence. He would make subtle criticisms of her work, question her decisions, and suggest that her colleagues didn't respect her as much as she thought they did. He framed it as protecting me from people who might take advantage of my trusting nature. He said I was too good for the corporate world and that other people were jealous of my success. Linda eventually realized that James was systematically isolating her from her professional network and undermining her career confidence to make her more dependent on his validation. He wanted me to be successful enough to support him financially, but not confident enough to question his behavior or leave the relationship. The whole "you're different" thing was designed to make me feel special, while actually diminishing my independence. These stories illustrate common patterns: the initial flattery that distinguishes you from other women, the rapid escalation of intimacy and commitment, the gradual introduction of red flags that are explained away as signs of a special connection, and the devastating realization that you were never special to them at all. You were simply an effective target for their practiced manipulation techniques. What's important to understand from these stories is that these women weren't naive or foolish. They were intelligent, accomplished individuals who were targeted specifically because of their strengths, not their weaknesses. The manipulation worked not because they were gullible, but because the manipulators were skilled at exploiting normal human needs for connection, validation, and love. Chapter 8. How to protect yourself now that you understand the manipulation tactic and why it's so effective. Let's focus on practical strategies for protecting yourself. Remember, the goal isn't to become cynical or closed off to genuine connections. It's to develop the awareness and skills necessary to distinguish between authentic appreciation and calculated manipulation. The first line of defense is understanding your own vulnerabilities. Take an honest inventory of your current emotional state, social support system, and any areas where you might be particularly susceptible to flattery or validation. Are you recently divorced or widowed? Feeling isolated or lonely? Struggling with age-related confidence issues? Have you been out of the dating scene for a while? Recognizing your vulnerable areas isn't about judging yourself. It's about being prepared. When someone tells you that you're different from other women your age, Pause and analyze what they're really saying. Ask yourself, what exactly does this imply about other women? Why would someone need to put down an entire demographic to compliment you? A genuine compliment stands on its own merits without requiring the diminishment of others. Pay attention to the timing of when someone uses this phrase. If it comes very early in your interaction, before they've had time to truly get to know your unique qualities, it's likely a calculated manipulation rather than a genuine observation. Real appreciation for your uniqueness develops over time as someone learns about your specific experiences, perspectives, and characteristics. Establish a personal rule about the pace of relationship development. Genuine connections typically develop gradually, with natural progression in emotional intimacy, time spent together, and commitment levels. Be wary of anyone who wants to fast-track these developments or who makes you feel like you're missing out if you don't keep up with their preferred pace. Create and maintain strong boundaries around financial matters. Never lend money, co-sign loans, or provide financial support to someone you've known for less than a year, regardless of the circumstances or how special they make you feel. A person who truly cares about you won't want to put you at financial risk, especially early in a relationship. Develop a practice of fact-checking stories and claims. This doesn't mean being paranoid or hiring private investigators, but it does mean paying attention to consistency in someone's narrative and asking clarifying questions when things don't add up. Trust your instincts when something feels off, even if you can't identify exactly what's wrong. Maintain your social connections and seek outside perspectives on your relationships. Isolation makes you more vulnerable to manipulation, while strong social connections provide reality checks and support. If multiple trusted friends or family members express concerns about someone you're dating, take their observations seriously rather than dismissing them as jealousy or misunderstanding. Be particularly cautious of anyone who tries to isolate you from your support system or who disparages your friends and family. Manipulators often try to position themselves as your primary source of validation and support, making you more dependent on their approval and less likely to receive contrary advice. Learn to recognize and trust your emotional responses. If someone's attention makes you feel desperate for more, if you find yourself constantly seeking their approval, or if you feel like you're walking on eggshells to maintain their interest, these are warning signs that the relationship dynamic isn't healthy. Establish clear criteria for what you want in a relationship and stick to them. Write down your non-negotiables in terms of how you want to be treated, what kind of communication you need, and what your long-term goals are. When you're caught up in the excitement of new romance, it's easy to compromise your standards, but having them written down helps you stay accountable to yourself. Take time to process your emotions and thoughts away from the person you're dating. Manipulators often keep you in a heightened emotional state where you're less likely to think clearly. Regular time alone for reflection, journaling, or meditation can help you maintain perspective and emotional balance. If you're unsure about someone's intentions, create small tests of their character and consistency. See how they respond when you're not available immediately, when you disagree with them, or when you need support rather than providing it. Pay attention to whether their behavior remains consistent when they're not actively trying to impress you. Consider working with a therapist or counselor, especially if you're re-entering the dating world after a long relationship or significant loss. Professional guidance can help you process past experiences, identify your vulnerabilities, and develop healthy relationship patterns. Many people benefit from therapy specifically focused on dating safety and building healthy relationships later in life. Educate yourself about common manipulation tactics beyond just the "you're different" phrase. Understanding love bombing, gaslighting, financial exploitation, and other manipulative behaviors can help you recognize red flags more quickly. Knowledge is truly power when it comes to protecting yourself from predators. Stay connected with other women in similar life situations. Whether through formal support groups, online communities, or informal friend networks, connecting with other women who are dating later in life can provide valuable insights and support. Share your experiences and listen to others' stories to build collective wisdom about navigating relationships safely. Trust your intuition, but also verify with facts. Your gut feelings are valuable and often pick up on subtle cues before your conscious mind processes them. However, manipulators can be skilled at managing impressions, so combine your intuitive responses with practical verification of important claims and behaviors. Remember that being cautious doesn't make you cynical or closed-minded. You can remain open to love and connection, while also being smart about protecting yourself. The right person for you will appreciate your wisdom and boundaries, not try to rush past them or make you feel guilty for having them. Chapter 9. What healthy appreciation actually looks like. After discussing manipulation and red flags extensively, it's important to understand what genuine appreciation and healthy relationship development actually look like. This knowledge helps you recognize the real thing when you encounter it and gives you a positive framework to work toward, rather than just focusing on what to avoid. Genuine appreciation is specific and personal. Instead of generic comments about how you're different from other women your age, a man who truly appreciates you will notice and comment on your specific qualities, experiences, and perspectives. He might admire your particular sense of humor, your unique career path, your interesting travel stories, or your thoughtful approach to problem solving. These observations come from actually paying attention to you as an individual, rather than seeing you as a representative of a demographic. Healthy appreciation also develops over time. While initial attraction and interest can be immediate, deep appreciation for who you are as a person grows as someone gets to know you better. A man who truly values you will continue discovering new things to appreciate as the relationship develops, rather than front-loading all his compliments in the early stages to create an intense emotional hook. Real appreciation doesn't require putting others down. A man who genuinely finds you attractive and interesting doesn't need to insult other women to make his point. His appreciation for you stands on its own merits without requiring comparison or contrast with others. He might say he's drawn to your intelligence, your kindness, or your sense of adventure, but he doesn't frame these qualities as exceptions to what he expects from women your age. Genuine interest shows up as curiosity rather than judgment. A man who truly appreciates older women will ask questions about your life experiences, your perspectives, and your goals because he's genuinely curious about your thoughts and experiences. This is different from someone who seems to have already formed conclusions about what older women are like and is looking for you to confirm his preconceptions. Healthy relationship development includes natural pacing. While chemistry and connection can be immediate, genuine relationships typically develop at a pace that feels natural and comfortable for both people. There's no pressure to rush into serious commitments or intimate revelations. The person is happy to take time getting to know you because he's genuinely interested in who you are, not just what he can get from you. Real appreciation includes respect for your independence and boundaries. A man who truly values you will admire your independence, your accomplishments, and your ability to take care of yourself. He won't try to quickly become your primary source of support or validation. Instead, he'll appreciate that you have a full life and will want to become a positive addition to that life rather than a replacement for it. Genuine interest extends to your whole life, not just your availability for him. He'll ask about your work, your friendships, your hobbies, and your family because he wants to understand the full picture of who you are. He'll encourage your existing relationships and interests rather than competing with them or trying to become your sole focus. A man who genuinely appreciates you will be consistent in his treatment of you. His kindness, respect, and attention won't fluctuate based on his mood, his needs, or whether he's trying to get something from you. You won't feel like you're constantly trying to earn or maintain his good treatment through your behavior or compliance. Healthy appreciation includes acknowledgement of your wisdom and experience. Rather than making you feel like you need to prove you're different from negative stereotypes about older women, he'll naturally appreciate the insights, skills, and perspectives you've gained through your life experiences. He sees your age and experience as assets rather than obstacles to overcome. Real interest includes respect for your time and energy. He understands that your time is valuable and doesn't expect you to be constantly available or to drop everything for his needs or wants. He appreciates when you make time for him rather than taking it for granted or demanding more than you're comfortable giving. A genuine connection includes natural reciprocity. While relationships don't need to be perfectly balanced at every moment, there should be a natural give and take, where both people contribute to the relationship's success and both people benefit from being together. You shouldn't feel like you're constantly giving more than you're receiving or like you need to earn his continued interest. Healthy appreciation includes acceptance of your whole self, including your flaws and imperfections. While he might be impressed by your accomplishments and attracted to your positive qualities, he also accepts that you're human and have areas where you're still growing or learning. He doesn't put you on a pedestal that would be impossible to maintain. A man who genuinely values you will be proud to be with you and won't hide your relationship from important people in his life. He'll want to introduce you to friends and family at appropriate times and won't be secretive about your connection. His appreciation for you is something he wants to share with others rather than something he keeps hidden. Real appreciation includes support for your growth and goals. He'll be interested in your dreams and aspirations and will want to support your continued growth and development. He sees you as a dynamic person who is continuing to evolve rather than a static presence in his life. Finally, genuine appreciation feels sustainable and authentic. You don't feel like you're performing or constantly trying to maintain his interest. His appreciation for you feels natural and effortless because it's based on who you actually are rather than who you think he wants you to be. When you understand what healthy appreciation looks like, it becomes easier to distinguish between genuine connection and sophisticated manipulation. The right person for you will make you feel valued and special, without making you feel like you need to defend that specialness or compete with other women for his attention. Chapter 10. Building your support network. One of the most effective protections against manipulation is maintaining strong social connections and support networks. Manipulators often target women who are isolated or who have limited social support, and they frequently work to increase that isolation once a relationship begins. Building and maintaining a strong support network is both protective and empowering. Start by taking an honest inventory of your current social support system. Who are the people in your life who truly know you, care about your well-being, and would give you honest feedback about your relationships and decisions? This might include family members, long-term friends, colleagues, or members of communities you belong to. If this list is shorter than you'd like, that's valuable information that can guide your efforts to build stronger connections. Prioritize maintaining existing relationships, even when you're excited about new romantic possibilities. It's natural to want to spend lots of time with someone new you're interested in, but maintaining balance in your social life serves multiple purposes. It keeps you grounded in your existing identity and values, provides ongoing sources of support and perspective, and ensures you have people to turn to if problems arise. Consider joining groups or communities that align with your interests and values. This might include professional organizations, hobby groups, volunteer organizations, fitness classes, book clubs, or spiritual communities. These connections provide social support while also enriching your life in ways that don't depend on romantic relationships. They also put you in contact with people who share your interests and values, which can provide perspective when you're evaluating new relationships. Be intentional about building friendships with other women in similar life stages. Whether through organized groups or natural connections, relationships with other women who are navigating similar challenges can provide invaluable support and insight. These friendships often include practical advice about dating, career transitions, family relationships, and other aspects of life that your peers understand intimately. Don't underestimate the value of intergenerational relationships. Connections with both younger and older women can provide different types of support and perspective. Older women may have valuable wisdom about life transitions and relationships, while younger women might offer fresh perspectives or help you stay connected to current trends and changes in dating culture. Make an effort to deepen existing casual relationships. You might have acquaintances through work, your neighborhood, or your children's activities who could become closer friends with more intentional effort. Inviting someone for coffee, suggesting a shared activity, or simply being more open about your life can transform surface-level connections into meaningful relationships. Consider working with a therapist or counselor, not because anything is wrong with you, but because professional support can be invaluable during major life transitions. Many women find that having a neutral professional to talk through their experiences, concerns, and decisions provides clarity and confidence that they might not get from friends or family, who have their own biases and investments in your choices. Be honest with your support network about your dating experiences and relationships. This doesn't mean sharing every detail, but it does mean being open about your experiences, concerns, and questions. Many women hesitate to share relationship concerns because they're worried about being judged, or because they're afraid their friends will dislike someone they're interested in. However, outside perspective is most valuable when it's based on honest information about your experiences. Learn to ask for and accept help. Many successful, independent women struggle with asking for support because they're used to being the ones who provide help to others. However, healthy relationships involve reciprocal support, and your friends and family want to be there for you just as you've been there for them. Practice asking for advice, emotional support, or practical help when you need it. Create regular opportunities for connection with your support network. This might involve weekly phone calls with distant friends, monthly dinners with local friends, or seasonal gatherings with extended family. Having regular connection points ensures that you maintain these relationships even during busy or challenging periods, and it provides natural opportunities to share what's happening in your life. Be selective about who you include in your inner circle. While it's valuable to have a broad network of casual connections, your core support network should consist of people who have demonstrated their trustworthiness, care for your well-being, and ability to provide honest feedback. These should be people whose judgment you respect, and whose own relationships and life choices reflect values that align with yours. Consider creating or joining a formal support group focused on issues relevant to your life stage. This might be a group for divorced or widowed women, women re-entering the dating scene, women navigating career transitions, or women dealing with aging parents. Formal support groups provide structure and focus that can complement your informal friendships and family relationships. Don't neglect professional relationships as sources of support. Colleagues, mentors, and professional acquaintances can provide valuable perspective on your life and decisions, especially if they know you in contexts where your competence and judgment are evident. These relationships can also provide reality checks if you start doubting your own capabilities or judgment. Stay connected with family members who are supportive and have your best interests at heart. While family relationships can be complicated, they often provide the longest-term perspective on who you are and what kinds of relationships and decisions have been good for you in the past. Even if family members don't always understand your choices, their care for your well-being can provide valuable grounding. Remember that building and maintaining a support network requires ongoing effort and investment. Like any other important aspect of your life, your relationships need attention, care, and reciprocity to remain strong. Make supporting others a priority in your life, and don't hesitate to lean on others when you need support in return. Finally, trust your support network's observations and concerns, especially when multiple people are expressing similar worries. While the final decisions about your life are always yours to make, people who care about you and know you well often see things that you might miss when you're emotionally involved in a situation. Their perspective is a valuable resource that can help protect you from manipulation and guide you toward healthier choices. Chapter 11. Red flags in digital communication. In today's dating landscape, much of the initial communication happens through dating apps, text messages, social media, and other digital platforms. Manipulators have adapted their techniques to these mediums, and understanding digital red flags can help you identify problematic behavior before you meet in person or become emotionally invested. One of the most significant digital red flags is excessive contact early in the connection. While enthusiasm is normal, manipulators often engage in digital love bombing, sending numerous texts throughout the day, wanting to video chat for hours, or expecting immediate responses to their messages. This creates a false sense of intimacy and keeps you in a heightened emotional state where you're less likely to think clearly about the relationship. Pay attention to the timing and frequency of their communications. Manipulators often test your availability and responsiveness by texting at unusual hours or expecting immediate responses. They might send good morning and good night texts every day within the first week of communication, creating artificial intimacy and routine. Genuine interest typically develops more gradually and respects natural boundaries around communication frequency. Be cautious of anyone who pushes quickly toward more intimate forms of communication. Moving from a dating app to texting is normal, but be wary of someone who immediately wants your phone number, wants to video chat before you've established basic compatibility, or pushes for very personal conversations before you've built trust. Manipulators often escalate intimacy quickly to bypass your normal screening processes. Watch for inconsistencies in their digital presence. If their social media profiles seem sparse, recently created, or inconsistent with the person they're presenting to you, this could indicate deception. Similarly, if they have very few photos, their photos seem professionally taken or too perfect, or their online presence doesn't match their claimed age or lifestyle, these are concerning signs. Be alert to anyone who seems to have too much time to communicate or who appears to be always available. While some people have flexible schedules, someone who can text constantly throughout the day is always free for phone calls, or never seems to be busy with work, friends, or other commitments might not have the stable life they're claiming to have. Pay attention to how they respond when you don't immediately reply to their messages. Manipulators often react poorly to delayed responses, either with excessive worry, anger, or guilt-inducing comments about how much they missed talking to you. Healthy communication includes understanding that people have busy lives and other commitments that sometimes delay their responses. Be cautious of anyone who shares very personal information too quickly through digital communication. While some people are naturally open, manipulators often overshare early in relationships to create false intimacy and encourage you to reciprocate with personal information. This might include detailed stories about past relationships, family trauma, or financial difficulties that seem designed to evoke sympathy. Watch for digital boundary violations. This might include sending inappropriate photos without consent, asking for personal photos too early in the relationship, wanting to know your location through shared apps, or expecting access to your social media accounts or passwords. Respectful people understand and honor digital boundaries just as they would physical boundaries. Be alert to anyone who seems to know too much about you from information available online. While some research is normal in online dating, be concerned if they reference information from your social media profiles that you haven't discussed. Know details about your work or personal life that aren't in your dating profile, or seem to have conducted extensive research about your background. Pay attention to how they communicate about other people in their lives. If they consistently describe ex-partners, family members, friends, or colleagues in negative terms through their digital communications, this provides insight into how they view relationships and how they might eventually describe you to others. Notice if they try to control or influence your digital presence. This might start with suggestions about your dating profile photos, comments about your social media posts, or opinions about your online interactions with others. While some input might seem helpful, be cautious of anyone who seems invested in controlling how you present yourself online. Be wary of anyone who is secretive about their own digital presence, or who won't share social media profiles, won't video chat, or makes excuses about why their online presence is limited. While some people are private, complete digital secrecy in the modern dating world can indicate that they're hiding something. Watch for manipulative communication patterns in their messages. This might include guilt tripping when you don't respond quickly enough, emotional manipulation through dramatic declarations of feelings, or attempts to make you feel sorry for them through stories of personal hardship. Healthy communication is supportive and encouraging, not manipulative or demanding. Pay attention to their digital communication during times when you're busy or unavailable. Do they respect your schedule and understand when you can't communicate? Or do they become demanding, clingy, or accusatory? How someone handles your unavailability often reveals their true character and respect for your independence. Be cautious of anyone who pushes to meet in person very quickly, or who tries to rush past normal getting to know you stages of digital communication. While some people prefer to meet quickly rather than texting extensively, be wary of anyone who seems impatient with normal courtship processes, or who makes you feel like you're being too careful by wanting to communicate digitally before meeting. Consider creating boundaries around digital communication that help you maintain perspective and avoid getting swept up in artificial intimacy. This might include limits on how often you'll text with someone new, waiting a certain period before sharing personal information, or maintaining your normal digital routines rather than becoming completely focused on communication with a new person. Remember that digital communication can create false intimacy because it's often more frequent and immediate than traditional courtship allowed. Just because you're texting with someone throughout the day doesn't mean you actually know them well. Take time to consider whether your feelings about someone are based on substantial knowledge of their character and compatibility with you, or primarily on the excitement of frequent digital contact. Trust your instincts about digital communication, just as you would about in-person interactions. If someone's messages make you feel uncomfortable, pressured, or manipulated, pay attention to those feelings. Your intuition often picks up on subtle cues in communication patterns that might not be immediately obvious to your conscious mind. Chapter 12. Financial protection strategies. Financial exploitation is often a primary goal of manipulators who target older women, making financial protection strategies essential for your safety and security. Understanding how financial manipulation works and implementing protective measures can help you maintain your financial independence while still being open to genuine relationships. The first and most important rule is to never lend money, provide financial support, or make financial commitments to someone you've known for less than a year, regardless of the circumstances or how convincing their story might be. Manipulators are skilled at creating urgent financial emergencies that seem to require immediate help, often accompanied by promises to pay you back quickly or explanations about why they can't access their own money temporarily. Create and maintain separate financial accounts that new romantic interests cannot access. Even if you eventually decide to combine finances with a long-term partner, maintaining some financial independence protects you from exploitation and gives you options if the relationship doesn't work out. Never give anyone access to your financial accounts, credit cards, or financial information during the early stages of a relationship. Be extremely cautious about co-signing loans, mortgages, or credit applications for someone you're dating. Co-signing makes you legally responsible for the debt if they default, and manipulators often use emotional pressure to convince women to co-sign by framing it as a sign of trust and commitment. Remember that legitimate financial institutions require co-signers because they've determined the primary applicant is a risk. Information you should take seriously. Protect your personal financial information just as carefully as you would protect it from strangers. Don't share details about your income, savings, investments, property ownership, or other financial assets early in relationships. Manipulators often ask detailed questions about finances while being vague about their own circumstances, gathering information they'll use to determine how much they might be able to exploit you. Be wary of anyone who seems overly interested in your financial situation or who asks detailed questions about your money, property, or financial planning. While financial compatibility is important in serious relationships, these conversations should happen naturally over time, not through interrogation early in the dating process. Someone genuinely interested in you as a person will be more focused on getting to know your personality, values, and interests. Pay attention to patterns in how dates and activities are paid for. While there's no universal rule about who should pay for what, be cautious if you find yourself consistently paying for everything, while your partner always has excuses about forgotten wallets, delayed paychecks, or temporary financial difficulties. Healthy relationships involve some form of reciprocity, even if partners have different income levels. Never make major financial decisions based on a new romantic relationship. This includes selling property, taking early retirement, borrowing against retirement accounts, or making large purchases or investments that someone is encouraging you to make. These decisions should be based on your own financial planning and goals, not on relationship pressures or promises. Be extremely cautious about anyone who encourages you to make changes to legal documents like wills, trusts, beneficiary designations, or power of attorney arrangements. While these changes might eventually be appropriate in committed relationships, they should never be made quickly or under pressure. Any partner who pushes for these changes early in a relationship is showing concerning priorities. Understand common financial manipulation tactics so you can recognize them. These might include sob stories about financial emergencies, promises of quick returns on investments they want you to make, pressure to combine finances quickly, requests for temporary financial support that becomes permanent, or attempts to isolate you from financial advisors or family members who might question financial decisions. Maintain relationships with trusted financial advisors, accountants, or other professionals who can provide objective advice about financial decisions. If you don't currently have these relationships, consider developing them as part of your overall financial health strategy. Having professional perspectives can help you recognize when someone might be trying to manipulate your financial decisions. Be cautious about mixing finances with romance through shared business ventures, joint investments, or other financial partnerships early in relationships. While these arrangements might work in mature, committed relationships, they create vulnerability to exploitation when you don't fully know someone's character or financial reliability. Create and maintain a financial safety net that gives you independence and options. This might include emergency savings, retirement accounts, property ownership, or other assets that provide security regardless of your relationship status. Financial independence isn't just about money. It's about maintaining your ability to make choices based on what's best for you, rather than what you can afford. Educate yourself about common financial scams that target older women, particularly those that involve romantic relationships. Romance scams often begin with online dating or social media contact and progress to requests for financial help for emergencies, travel expenses to visit you, or investments in fake business opportunities. Understanding these scams helps you recognize similar patterns in person-to-person relationships. Trust your instincts about financial requests or pressure. If something feels wrong about someone's financial story, if their requests make you uncomfortable, or if you find yourself making financial decisions that don't align with your usual values or practices, pay attention to these feelings. Your financial instincts have probably served you well in other areas of your life and deserve respect in relationships too. Consider having conversations with trusted friends or family members about your financial boundaries and decisions, especially when you're in new relationships. Outside perspectives can help you recognize when you might be rationalizing poor financial decisions because of romantic feelings or when someone might be taking advantage of your generosity. Remember that someone who truly cares about you will want to protect your financial security, not exploit it. A genuine partner will encourage you to maintain your financial independence, will respect your financial boundaries, and will contribute fairly to shared expenses according to their abilities. They won't pressure you to make financial sacrifices for the relationship or use emotional manipulation to access your resources. If you do decide to provide financial support to a partner, treat it as a gift rather than a loan and only give what you can afford to lose entirely. Don't compromise your own financial security or make sacrifices that will impact your ability to care for yourself. And be honest about your motivations. Are you giving because you can afford to be generous or because you're afraid of losing the relationship if you don't comply with financial requests? Finally, remember that financial abuse and exploitation can happen to anyone, regardless of intelligence, education, or success. If you find yourself in a financially exploitative relationship, focus on protecting your remaining assets and seeking help, rather than feeling ashamed about what you might have lost. Your financial and emotional recovery is what matters most, not dwelling on past mistakes or feeling guilty about being targeted by sophisticated manipulators. Ladies, we've covered a lot of ground in this video, and I want to make sure you understand just how important this information is. The "you're different from other women your age" manipulation isn't just a casual pickup line or harmless flattery. It's a calculated psychological weapon designed to exploit your natural desire for appreciation and validation while making you vulnerable to financial, emotional, and psychological abuse. Throughout this discussion, we've examined the psychology behind why this manipulation works, the red flags that accompany it, the long-term consequences of falling for it, and most importantly, how to protect yourself from it. We've heard real stories from real women who have survived these relationships, and we've explored what healthy appreciation and genuine connection actually look like. The most crucial thing I want you to remember is this: you are valuable, desirable, and worthy of genuine love and respect exactly as you are, at whatever age you are. You don't need to be grateful for scraps of attention or validation from men who see you as a target, rather than a partner. You don't need to prove that you're different from other women your age because there's nothing wrong with being a woman your age in the first place. The right person for you will appreciate your wisdom, your experience, your independence, and your strength, without needing to put down other women to make you feel special. They will respect your boundaries, support your goals, and contribute fairly to the relationship, rather than looking for ways to exploit your resources or manipulate your emotions. If you recognize yourself in any of the stories we've discussed today, or if you're currently in a relationship where someone used this line to initially attract you, please take some time to honestly evaluate your situation. Look at the patterns we've discussed. Consider whether you're seeing red flags you might have previously dismissed, and don't be afraid to seek outside perspective from trusted friends, family members, or professionals. Remember that leaving a manipulative relationship or recognizing that you've been targeted doesn't make you foolish or weak. It makes you human. And more importantly, it makes you strong enough to prioritize your own well-being and safety. Every woman who shares her story, and every woman who takes steps to Protect Herself helps create awareness that can protect other women from similar exploitation. I also want to emphasize the importance of sharing this information with other women in your life. The more we talk openly about these manipulation tactics, the less effective they become. Share this video with your friends, your sisters, your daughters, and any other women who might benefit from this knowledge. Knowledge truly is power when it comes to protecting ourselves from predators and manipulators. If this video has been helpful to you, please take a moment right now to hit that like button. Every like helps our content reach more women who need this information. Subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you'll be notified when we post new content about dating safety, relationship red flags, and empowerment for women at every age. Leave a comment below and let me know if you've encountered this particular manipulation, or if you have other warning signs you'd like us to cover in future videos. Your experiences and insights help create a community of knowledge and support that benefits all women. Share this video with women in your life who might benefit from this information, because sometimes hearing about these dangers from someone they trust makes all the difference. If you're able to support our channel financially, please consider leaving a super thanks donation. Every contribution helps us continue creating content that educates and protects women from manipulation and abuse. Your support allows us to spend time researching, interviewing experts, and creating comprehensive content, rather than having to focus solely on generating revenue through other means. Most importantly, I want you to remember that you have the right to high standards in your relationships. You have the right to take your time getting to know someone before making commitments. You have the right to maintain your financial independence and protect your resources. You have the right to expect respect, honesty, and genuine appreciation, rather than calculated manipulation. Don't let anyone make you feel like you should be grateful for less than you deserve because of your age, your relationship status, or any other factor. You are not past your expiration date. You are not too old for genuine love. You are not too demanding for wanting to be treated well. And you are definitely not different from other women your age in a way that makes you special, because there is absolutely nothing wrong with being a woman your age in the first place. Trust your instincts. Maintain your independence, protect your resources, and never settle for someone who makes you feel like you should be grateful for their attention, rather than confident that they should be grateful for yours. You deserve nothing less than genuine love, respect, and partnership from someone who sees your worth without needing to diminish others to make you feel valuable. Stay safe, stay strong, and remember that your age and experience are assets, not liabilities. The right person will see them that way too. Thank you for watching, thank you for sharing, and thank you for supporting our mission to protect and empower women of all ages. Until next time, remember that knowledge is power, and power is protection. Before you go, please take just 30 more seconds to like this video if you haven't already. Share it with someone who might need to hear this message. And subscribe to our channel for more content about dating, safety, and empowerment. Your engagement with this content quite literally helps save other women from manipulation and abuse. That's a pretty powerful impact you can make with just a few clicks. Stay empowered, stay protected, and remember that you deserve the very best that love has to offer. See you in the next video.